Welcome back to the City of Caldwell podcast. Today we have Aaron Williams from the county. Just joining us, the Canyon County. Let's be more specific. We could be any county, right? But Aaron, thanks for joining us. And can you just tell us? I see you kind of everywhere and here and there, different things, and other people might too. But I want this to be an opportunity for people to get to know you first. So, who is Aaron Williams? Who is this guy?
I'd say me. I came from South Central Los Angeles. I was born and raised out there. I came up to Idaho for Boise State, and they offered me a full ride, and so I took advantage of it. And so out of that, I studied at Boise State for some time. I'm currently still at Boise State working on my PhD, and so
nice.
They're keeping me busy, and it's been a nonstop grind. But I got an interesting background. When I was growing up, I wanted to be involved in everything. So going through my resume, I started working for a fire department, did fire for a couple years. Then I worked in government, worked closely with a lot of the government out in California. And then when I got up here, worked closely with government out here too. And so my background really is growing up in South Central Los Angeles. I realized that a lot of the politicians within the community didn't live in the community, or they really weren't part of the community. And so when it came to policy implementation, there were huge gaps that would negatively impact people within my community. And so out of that, I realized, hey, I really want to be an elected official to find that gap and bring that together and be a voice for the people. And so that's really kind of what got me involved in just working for government and pursuing my degrees at the university and just working in government. But that's a little bit me. I'm pretty complicated, but high level. That's what
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think one quick comment, just based off what you said about not living in your area that you're making decisions for. It's kind of it's kind of like a shepherd not smelling like your sheep.
Right? 100%. That's huge. And I'll talk to a lot of people, and they'll say, well, if you're going to be a shepherd of a flock, you got to be in the flock. Otherwise, your sheep are doing their own thing, and sheep are they're animals that need to be taken care of. And so that was one huge thing that I realized. And when I realized the gaps within the community that I was a part of, it had negative implementations going on throughout the whole, at least when I was living there. And I found that for this to change, it just needed the right politician or the right person, whether it be in public administration or just community advocates, to just voice their concerns and just be a part of the community and understand boots on the ground what's actually going on.
Yeah, living there, connected, not disconnected.
Yeah, 100%.
So one thing that you mentioned, let's go back for a second. You said from LA and went to college here, still kind of, still going to college.
Yeah.
Soon to be Dr. Williams.
No.
But what made you stick around? Because it could have been easy to graduate and just say, I'm going back.
That was a goal. I was going to graduate and go back. I got offered to work for Los Angeles Fire Department. That's when I was big in working for the fire service. I did city structure, wildland, urban interface. So I finished my degree. I did my communication and philosophy. It was a scholarship for about 4 years. I wrapped up one degree in 2 years, and then I said, okay, I have a scholarship for 4, take advantage of it, get another degree. And so that's what I did. And so after that, I started going through the hiring process for Los Angeles Fire Department. And as I was going, I timed it right where, okay, if I graduate now, I'll be able to secure a full-time job there, and it's just there's no gap, and we're good. Sure enough, as I was doing all that, I was firefighting out here as well, and I'm going through the whole process. I'm applying for graduation. Boise State, they email me and they give me a call. They say, hey, Aaron, I want you to pursue your master's here. And so I said, well, I mean, I had a full-time job lined up. I wanted to do that, call the service, being a part of the community, as I said first. And the master's degree was in public administration with a certificate in state, local, regional government. And so I said, well, this is a different opportunity. I prayed on it, talked with my mom, talked with some mentors at my church, and I felt the Lord pulling me to this direction to check out what this degree entailed. And so, they paid for my degree. I was able to pursue it. And so I completed it. And that's why I kind of stayed there. And so sure enough, after I finished my public administration degree, I got the opportunity, the blessing to go pursue my PhD, same ordeal. And I was like, okay, I'm getting called to stay here. So I actually have to listen and I can't control it. So that's pretty much why I'm still here.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So they don't ask just anybody to do that. So
it was, I'd say, grace of God and the connections. I was able to make a lot of connections at the university during my time there and pursuing the right degrees and knowing the right people.
So not to get too ahead.
Yeah.
But let's fast forward. You get your doctorate. You're Dr. Williams now. What's next? I mean, maybe you can't go too much into that, but what's the plan, I guess? Is there a plan?
Well, my end game is to be an elected official.
Yeah.
That's really where I kind of see, and based off just how I grew up and where I was from, the community I was part of, and the justification for that. And so that's my end game. I don't know how I'm going to get there. Right now, I'm just kind of moving and grooving and trusting the Lord and all that. But we'll see how it all plays out.
Okay.
I'm staying optimistic.
Okay. Well, it just sounds like there's a lot of open doors in your future. And the issue is, okay, well, which one do I go to?
That was a big problem that I faced growing up and doing all the stuff that I was doing. I was like, there's a lot of opportunities here. And how do you pick the right one? And that's really, I realized it's out of my control. I don't want to control this, and I don't, And so eventually the door started opening up, and I felt called to reach another door, go to this one, or say no to this opportunity. So.
Cool. So as an LA fan, who are your favorite teams?
Favorite teams, I'm going to say the Dodgers. I'm a diehard Dodgers fan. Okay. Kershaw, that's my man.
Okay.
Football-wise, I'm not a Rams fan, and I'm not a Chargers fan. I'm a 49ers fan.
Yeah. Well, you grew up there when they had no team, right? For 20 plus years.
It wasn't until after they came there. It was like, oh, this is lame. You guys are fake.
Right. Well, I just imagine LA fans, it's like you're a free agent fan.
Pretty much at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
You were like, okay, well, I guess you just base it off of California teams.
Or maybe.
Yeah. For me, growing up, I was like, how do I really base this off of? Funny enough, so I played hockey all my life, and so I was actually going to go to school on a hockey scholarship to another university, and I didn't. I chose to pursue just Boise State because of the deal that they gave me. But when it came to picking out the hockey team, I wasn't an LA Kings fan. I was like, okay, if I'm not an LA Kings fan in the hockey community out there, it's diehard LA Kings because you're in LA. Eventually became a Blackhawks fan just because my family's from Chicago.
Yeah.
So it made sense.
Well, they won it recently, too.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So we're proud about that.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself and, being vulnerable to that and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm going to learn a little bit today, too. And I always learn from whoever we're talking to. But tell us about the county. So I think some people get the city and the county kind of mixed up. They might come to the city for certain things when they should go to the county, or vice versa. On the big, like the 40,000 foot view level, as easy as you can put it, what's the difference between the county and the city to you?
The difference between the county and the city, that's a complicated question. I'll try to make it simple. I see it like this. You have the state and the governor and everything that he does. From the breakdown of that, you go to the counties, and the counties are, operating, and they're setting up stuff just based off what the state presents and makes you do mandated services. And then from the county side of things, it trickles down to the city's perspective. And so then the cities, they set up their own jurisdictions within the counties. And so let's say you have a water down effect, it would go from federal government, state, to county, to cities. And so that's pretty much how I would structure it. Per se, the county, we focus on mandated services that the state requires us to do. And so there's a lot of things. For example, one thing that went through this 2 legislative sessions ago was the Agriculture Protection Act. And so that was something that was passed down to from the state to the counties that were mandated for everywhere within the counties to do. Cities didn't have to do that because they're cities and they're operating within their jurisdiction. But counties have to be, then they have to do the mandated services.
Okay. So what would be something that somebody would go to the county for and not the city?
Yeah. You might have to, I'm here to learn too.
Okay.
So when I look at the county and required services, the courthouse, clearly, we have the PA there. The assessor, when it comes to taxes and when you're, trying to assess your property value, pay your taxes there, passports, jail, that's under the county courthouse. Then we also have development services when it comes to, you guys have development services as well, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So when it comes to just, I guess we focus on the rural aspect, but then also when it comes to areas of impact and looking at, okay, what do the cities want and how can we tie that to our comprehensive plan and having conversations around that. I'm trying to think, there's more. Coroner, she's an elected position and that's their job as well, that the cities don't have to take over or manage. I feel like I'm forgetting some. Clerk Hogelboom, Rick. He's the clerk of the county, and so he's in charge of when it comes to the election process of, okay, how do we track the elections, the results, and everything like that, as well as he kind of is, I wouldn't say like the manager per se, but he oversees the county budget.
Okay, and probably some records and...
Exactly, yeah, record keeping, everything like that. I know I'm missing a lot off the surface, but this is just
that
impromptu.
No, that makes sense, though. That helps me out, too. Well, first, there's a lot of exciting things happening at the county.
Oh yeah.
I know there's a lot of events now that I've been to.
Mm-hmm.
That we go to the center.
Yep.
The Canyon County new, like Expo County Fair building.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's top notch in my opinion.
I was amazed when I went there and checked it out. We had the the ribbon cutting ceremony last year, right before fair started, and it's amazing to see that building and how it just came to fruition. You walk in there, there's nice AC, it's beautiful, and then right outside, it's beautiful grass and everything like that. And so it's a cool little hub. And I'll talk to the director out there, director over the fairs, and we'll talk about different things of how people are utilizing the facility. And I'm amazed of just all the different opportunities that are in the community that people can utilize that facility for.
Right.
It's fascinating.
And then this is my fault, and I might get some mad emails that I didn't know about this, but when the elections came around, the early ones, I'm so used to going to the old site. And I didn't go there. I did not go there, but I did look up, okay, where's my poll or whatever, because I was doing early voting though.
Yeah.
I was like planning on going to there, and I saw that the address was different. And I was like, oh, let's check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's way down, by the DMV, and I went all the way down there, and I'm like, holy cow, where did this building come from?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and it's nice, and it was well done. But you guys have that new building as well.
We have that new building. I'm glad you were able to track down. On the backside, we ran into a lot of problems when it came to the address on Google when people were looking at what site to go to, because Google's set up where you have to go through a whole process to claim the building and then to change the address and everything like that. So I was trying to figure all of that out, but eventually it made sense and we were able to get it going. But we're at right by the courthouse, the old elections building. That building was super tight and super small. I don't know if you've been down there during the election cycle. It's crazy. There's not even a break room there. They had like a sink and a microwave, but to that extent, that's all there was. And so people are just packed. You have a bunch of equipment, machines, and it's tight. And so when we were designing this other building, they went out there and they made it to, okay, what do they need when it comes to just efficiency, security, and to give an opportunity where members of the public, let's say for schools, for example, can come learn about the election process. They can do that there. At the old building, they couldn't. And so that building is huge. And so far, I've been receiving positive feedback on it. And I'm sure the clerk could attest to that as well.
Yeah. I thought it was smooth. It was great.
And the reason why that location it kind of made sense was because that area right there, we have the DMV, we have the animal shelter right there, and then the elections building. Okay, let's say you come in and you're trying to get your license updated, or you got to pay for your registration. You can kill two birds with one stone. If it's in the election season, go up there and then do your ballot stuff at the elections building. It's like, centralized location, kind of a middle ground for people, and they can just go and zip out. Yeah. And parking, that was another thing. We didn't have enough parking at the old facility, and so now we're able to manage that as well.
Do people need parking in Caldwell? I don't know. Is that a thing here? Not if you're okay with walking a couple extra blocks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's great. Tell us. Let's go back to like County 101.
Yeah.
So you guys have county commissioners, and how does that work? They're elected. What are their terms? How many are there? What are their roles and responsibilities?
So we have the county commissioners, known as Canyon County Commissioners. They're the board that oversees, the county specifically. There's 3 elected officials that are in those seats. And so in there, you walk up, we have our agenda room where it has like the 3 seats. You have Leslie Van Beek, Brad Holton, and Zach Brooks. Those are the 3 elected officials. And their positions, they rotate, but pretty much when it comes to just decision-making within the county, it goes to them. And they're able to decide as a unit based off getting a consensus of the higher votes of different priorities and stuff that they would like to see or implement for county business. And so that's pretty much to the extent of how they operate when it comes to the elected officials. And I know that's different when it comes to the city, because the city, it seems like you have the mayor and then you have city council. We necessarily don't have a city council. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of advisory committees where they advise the board, give recommendations, but ultimately at the end of it, it's the board's decision to make their call on what should be done or what should not be done. Thinking about the layout, we have our Planning and Zoning Commission. When it comes to land use applications and how things should be processed, the Planning and Zoning Commission, as I said, it's a recommendation body. So they're able to recommend, send it to the board, and the board could listen to the recommendation, or they could just do their research and do their own thing and say, oh, well, this is how I really feel about it, and vote otherwise.
So is it the type of deal where, okay, you said there's 3 of them,
Mm-hmm.
2 of them say yes to something, 1 of them says no to something. Do the 2 yeses outdo the 1, or do they all have to come together and agree?
It would be the 2 yeses outdo the 1, and so in that case, yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty simple.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people sometimes just don't understand that or comprehend that. I understand from the county perspective, it is complicated because when you go to different government organizations, it's different. Like I said, the city, for example. And so when it comes to the conversations with the elected officials and making sure, they have to be on the same page, or the open meeting laws, for example, and how that means you can't necessarily have all 3 commissioners here making a decision. Like, you got to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this?
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the lesson that I've learned is if you want to be a county commissioner, don't have your besties and go for the other seats, because then you can't hang out too much, except for professional stuff, right?
Yeah.
So tell us your job title. Let's go there now.
Yeah. So my job title, I'm the Director of Constituent Services, and so in that, my main goal is figuring out. Remember, I told you that's the aspect of growing up in a community where elected officials weren't a part of the community. My main goal is bridging that gap for at least the county commissioners and the other elected officials at the county. And so I like to be boots on the ground within the community, understanding all that's going on and communicating all that back to the elected officials. Another aspect is disseminating information. Sometimes we're going through complicated information. And so, for example, the APA, for example, that was a lot of complicated legal jargon that a lot of members of the public just weren't able to wrap their head around. And so the Constituent Services Department once set up, and we're reading through it, worked with our legal team, worked with DSD to figure out what's the creative way that we can disseminate this information for members of the public to understand, because it's really complicated. And so we simplified it. We hit all the stones, and then we also had a huge open house. And that's pretty much to the extent of high level what the Constituent Services Department do. We also dabble in a few other things, for example, impact fees. So that's one thing that I'm doing right now on my side, and figuring out different ways to implement it, doing a countywide study to figure out, okay, how can we address the need, the deficiencies that are going on for the level of service that we have, and to, as I said, mend that gap.
Okay.
And then another thing that we're getting into is economic development. And so that's a new role that's been coming up. And so we've been working with pretty much the chambers, your guys' economic development director, NAMPA's, and the Western down in Greenleaf that oversees the county economic development as well. And so learning and grooving with that, but definitely keeps me on my toes.
Oh yeah, I mean, sounds like you're doing like 5 people's jobs almost. So.
I mean, they keep me busy, and it's a blessing, because I kind of have that mind where I need to be doing a lot of different things that are, that makes you think critically.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I'm wired per se. And so I like to get involved, understand, pass on the information.
It keeps it fresh too.
Exactly. It's not boring. Every day is a new day, and I can't really plan how tomorrow's going to be. All I can do is be flexible and be prepared.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, pop quiz.
Okay.
What's the population of Canyon County? Roughly.
So, population of Canyon County, I think it's around 200,000 per se. We're doing a study, the impact fees. We have to look at growth trends and everything like that. And so I know the population there's going to be a significant increase based off the metrics and numbers we've been pulling. But I'd say it's around 250,000.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's what I would have guessed. Because Nampa has like 100 something.
Yeah.
We have about almost 80. And then you have like the Middletons and Greenleafs and the smaller.
Parma, yeah. Yep. And so looking on the map, funny enough, in my office, I have a map of all the cities within Canyon County, and then it kind of goes over the different numbers of population within, the cities, and that kind of just helps me understand when it comes to the city's perspective of all the stuff that they're trying to deal with and manage as well. A lot of the heavy hitters, it's Caldwell and Nampa that are like, okay, there's a lot of growth happening in this area, and there's a lot of people moving into this area. And then you look out, and I'm actually starting to see trends, especially in the smaller cities. They're starting to grow too, because now people are getting pushed out. I wouldn't say pushed out, but people are finding those communities, and they're trying to make a life for them as well out there.
I see a lot of bedroom communities.
Yeah, 100%.
And they're cool too. Just a different vibe. You know, it's maybe you're 10 minutes away from everything.
Yeah,
but you're kind of out. You have a little more land. It's a little more quiet.
And that's one thing that I noticed. I have a background in ranching. I ranched out in California, and I also cowboy out here and work on a cattle ranch. One thing that I noticed is the ranch that I work at, and we were out there working, and I've been there doing it for years. And all of a sudden, I started seeing, as you said, the bedroom community starting popping up in these small little cities that I would figure this is never going to be like a hub where people want to live. But sure enough, development came in, and landowners sold their land, and now it's a hub where people want to live. Who would have thought?
Right. I think being from SoCal too, just thinking about it, if I'm from LA, or I went to school in Riverside.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're in LA, it's like you have like the Orange County LA hub, but then you have like the Temecula's.
Yeah.
And then you have, there's Riverside kind of, but then you have Moreno Valley and these other Coronas and
Little Links. Yeah, 100%. And that LA, I think, it's a weird example. When I first got from LA to here, just how when you talk about there's so many cities within LA that a lot of people just don't understand. Like, yeah, you have Culver City, you have Baldwin Hills, a lot of other cities that are compromised in that. But then you have like the little hubs. One thing that I'm thinking of is not Ventura. What's that area? It wasn't developed yet. I would consider it the Fountain Valley.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard of that? Is it called Fountain Valley?
It's like an Orange County kind of area.
Kind of. Anyways, that area was no one lived there, and now I went back home recently to check on my mom, and that area was booming. It was almost like another LA out there, and I was super surprised and really trying to understand and wrap my head around, one, where are all the people going that are like coming from and living in this community, and also you look at the traffic out there. And I talked to some friends out there, and we were having conversations of like who they work with and everything like that. They say a lot of people live in, I think it's Fountain Valley, don't quote me on that, but they'll drive, and it's a 2-hour drive from there to LA, and they'll work in LA and then drive back. This is crazy, but they're doing it.
I mean, my wife and I lived in Victorville for a little bit.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Okay. And people would still drive to LA.
That's crazy.
Orange County.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, I think it becomes common. I didn't realize just my mindset of, growing up in LA and the traffic. I was like, oh, this is just the way of life. And one thing that I tell my friends all the time, 30 minutes in LA will take you like pretty much up the street, 2 blocks. 30 minutes out here, you'll cover so many miles. And so when I first got out here for college, I had my Jeep, and Jeeps aren't really it was a 1995 Jeep Wrangler. They're not fuel efficient at all. And so I usually calculate, okay, if I'm going this far, fuel up here, and it's like, oh, 30-minute drive, I could do that. Tank is good. I hop in, I'm driving, and I'm like, oh, we're still going. We're not there yet. 30 minutes is a lot of miles, and I'm on E now. And so that was one thing that I struggled to wrap my head around at first. Now it's starting to change, more growth and more development and more traffic. But.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears for a second.
Yeah.
From where you sit and all the stuff that you see and have access to, from what you can tell us, where is the county going? Like, what's the future look like for Canyon County?
The future for Canyon County. The county's in a weird spot. Personally, like my honest opinion, in the sense of my day-to-day, I receive a lot of phone calls and emails from constituents, and they'll talk about, one, development and stopping development and growth and controlling that. But then I also have conversations just with people within the community where they're like, hey, I have this property and I kind of want to sell, let it go. My family members, my son, he doesn't live here. He doesn't want to own a ranch or our farm or anything like that. And so what I think that needs to be found is a balance between the two. And so I think that's pretty much where at least the county is struggling with, because with the amount of potential growth that the county could see and looking at the numbers that I've pulled from the metrics, we're going to see a lot of more people come in. So the whole Treasure Valley is. And so managing that and figuring out, okay, well, you have people that really want that deep-rooted community vibe and to protect agriculture, which is super important. But then you also have people that are willing to sell and they want to leave and just wipe their hands clean. And so I can't tell you like what that looks like. I just know that, at least on the county side, we're trying to find a balance and figure out, because at the end of the day, it's up to the landowner when it comes to their development or their property.
Yeah, whether they're going to stick it out or sell. I'm not calling them sellouts, but they're selling and they're moving out.
And I get that completely. As I said, being a part of the ranching community, one thing that I realized is I got a lot of calls to take over other people's ranches just because their kids don't want any part of it. They're done with it, and it's hard work, don't get me wrong. And so it puts them at a weird position. And also a lot of people, that's their retirement. They bought this land and they're hoping to cash it out and retire. So that's it. Now you can't force another rancher to buy that. It's an open market. And so you can set up different things, but at the end of the day, it's the discretion of them and the buyer.
So I guess the question is, who's going to do it?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Really, I'm sitting here, and as I said, I'm learning as well. And so it's been super interesting just to see. And that's one thing that I've been doing research on myself, is just figuring out, okay, is there a way to find that balance, and what does that look like later on down the road? Let's say 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Right.
But
I think a lot of people, when they hear a story coming from LA, coming from California, I get this question quite a bit, but I feel like it might be good for us to hear what you have to, say about it. Just like, hey, what's pretty much what's the main difference, coming from LA to Boise / Idaho, now Canyon County. It's like, okay, what's your feedback? Like, what have you noticed? What have you learned? What have you, what's your experience been like coming from the outside, I guess?
I think it's been super positive. Before I left LA, I had a lot of people just telling me, "Are you sure you want to go to Idaho? What's in Idaho? You shouldn't go to Idaho. You should go somewhere else." And that kind of scared me at first. And I said, "Well, I mean, I guess we'll just see what the Lord has in store. Figure it out." And so in that came up, and Idaho's been super welcoming and open for me, and just loving, and a good community overall. The thing that I appreciated was just the slower pace of life. I told you I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and so in that, there was a lot of trials and tribulations that I had to face growing up. That I'm a high school leader at my church, and I talked to a lot of the high schoolers there, and their life compared to mine at that time, it's different, and it's a blessing that they're able to live a peaceful life like that. And that's one of the callings that I'm like, that's when I got off the plane here, I instantly felt just like burden off my shoulders. I was relieved. I said, wow, this is hard to describe, but it's nice. Slower pace, good air, you got greenery and scenery and good people. The thing that this is the thing that I noticed was different. So my sister, she came down and she was checking out Idaho, and me and her are pretty much the same. We're social. We like to talk to people, check in on people, be a part of the community. She noticed, the first thing she said was, in Idaho, people really say hi to you and they check in on you, and like strangers. Joe Schmo will be talking to you, and you don't even know this guy, and he's asking you about, what do you like to do, or are you going to buy that product or this one? You should get this one. In LA, that doesn't happen at all, and they'll just look at you, they'll be mad, and it's like no, it's not like that. And that's the thing she brought up. She was like, back at home, I'm the oddball, but out here it's just like, it's so social and it's so interactive, and she appreciates that. So do I. And I think that just ties into the community and the way of life that we're living out here. It's
right. I could relate, because here there's like the Idaho wave.
Yeah.
when you're walking on in your neighborhood or something, or you're driving, you're just like,
you just do the little thumbs up or fingers up.
Sometimes when I see friends or family back in San Diego or whatnot, I'll find myself waving at people because I'm just so used to it.
They're like, "What are you doing?"
And people are like, hi. Yes, we're so used to not looking at each other ever.
No, you literally instantly, when someone's walking, look away, just avoid it. And I don't know why it's like that. It's hard to describe. Generally, I can't come up with an answer for that, but that's one of the main things I noticed was the difference. I also get asked a lot, just coming from such a big city to here. They'll say, "Aaron, what's the main thing you miss out there?" I say, really, the main thing I miss, I think, is the food. The food out there is next level, and I know they're starting. I'm a big barbecue guy. I was actually surprised Idaho didn't have that many good barbecue spots. Now they got some within the communities that are starting to spur up, and I've been hidden, and so far I've been learning and trying to figure out. But back in LA, you go down the street and you hit Phillips Barbecue. It's a well-known barbecue spot out there, and you never let down. You know what you're gonna get, and so that's one thing that I struggle with out here. But that's pretty much the only thing that I miss.
And I could relate. And I haven't had bad food here.
Yeah.
But the thing that I miss is, I feel like you could take a globe and just spin it.
Yeah.
And just go, we're going to eat this today.
Oh, exactly.
And let's Google it. Oh, there's 5 spots. Let's look at the highest stars. Hey, this one's high stars. It's kind of cheap though.
Yeah. Go to that one.
The hole in the wall one. We want that one. Right. So
you won't be let down. Yeah.
But I feel like that's what I kind of miss from here. Like there's good places, but it's kind of fun. It's hard to find the hidden gems.
The right spot. Yeah, and I will attest to that because there's a lot of good places out here. You got to find them though, and it's based off of people talking to you or just, as I said, being part of the community. But when I first got here, I was struggling. I was like, I haven't found a good spot yet, and so being here, learning the community, understanding, like, oh, okay, I see what they're saying.
But there are some spots that I appreciate here. I won't say their names because I don't want to leave people out or whatever. But I do appreciate the food here, but what it has done is it's forced me to cook a lot more.
Yeah,
because it's like I can't find XYZ.
Yeah,
so I guess I'll have to just my wife or I will look up the recipe and just have to figure it out. And it's like I'm like, oh, this is close, and I can't believe I paid back home, XYZ for this. So
that's one thing. My mom, every Christmas she'll make seafood gumbo. That's a southern thing. We got this back from my family back when they were in the South, and it's been a recipe that's been passed down for a while. Anyways, she'll cook it up and do her thing, and you'll hit a lot of California restaurants and they'll have some seafood gumbo or something of sort. They didn't have that out here. I was going around, I was like, there's no gumbo, no season like that. And so my mom, she came up, she's like, maybe I should start a restaurant. Like, yeah, you don't need to do all that. But you're right. I had to cook it and actually get that feeling back. But that was the only way that we could get that because of the different restaurants. And it's changing. More restaurants are coming in, and I'm starting to see different food options, which is great. So
yeah. Aaron, is there anything that before we end, is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you want to make sure you hit or promote or talk about?
Let me think.
Or maybe a frequently asked question at the county that you get a lot. They're like, man, if I could just answer this once and for all and not have to answer this question ever again.
I'm drawing a blank. I know that there's a whole list that I have.
You guys have the fair coming up.
Yeah, we do have the fair coming up, so that's one thing that we're encouraging everyone to get out and check out. That's a huge event from the get go. I'm trying to figure out like specific events that we have going on. We didn't talk about the sheriff admin building that's coming on.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about that.
That's right across the street from the courthouse. I'm not too sure what exact name of the street is, but pretty much right now the sheriff's admin building, it's being built because all of the sheriff's department, they're operating within the courthouse, and the courthouse is super confined and you're like this. And so the sheriff admin building is going to allow us to get that space back and put the sheriff in their own called building. And we paid for that with ARPA funds, but overall they're building it right now. It's going to be 3 stories and include everything that they need for their their level of service to meet the need and demand within the area. But looking at it right now, it's not even, they don't have walls up, they just have the metal beams. It's looking amazing, and I think it'll be a huge benefit.
Well, you have a whole complex over there now, just in the area. It's like county, new county building coming up here.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
There's a lot going on, and just a lot of growth within the county side. And it's a good time, good board, good elected officials that I've been working with, and just communicating. And it's cool to see that we're all on the same page when it comes to that and understanding. Okay, there's a problem here. How can we all address this problem to come up with a solidified solution in engaging with the same front? And so that's been amazing too. And I think that's really a huge call of how we're able to make so much progress.
Okay. Well, Aaron, when you make it to the big time, when you're Dr. Williams, and you're this elected official that is like super famous, don't forget us little guys, okay?
No, I would never. No.
Okay, but thanks for having us on.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you making time for us. Yeah. And thanks for letting us know who you are and,
of course,
giving us a good idea of what the county does.
I appreciate the opportunity. And one thing that I really want to hit on is, I told you what the Constituent Services Department does. A lot of the things that I also do is interact with the cities. And so stuff like this, I think it's amazing how we can just collaborate and partner up. I emailed you, last week about certain things that we could work on together. And so the thing that I realized when it comes to just county business, at least on the board side, is we have to engage and we have to collaborate and work together to really just come to a solution for things. And so when we're having that interaction, conversations like these, just to break the ice and get to know each other, I think it's huge when it comes to day to day.
I think some people think the city, like Caldwell and the county, hate each other and are always fighting and stuff. It's like, actually, I work really well, I feel like, with the county folk that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So
no, it's weird because we'll do a lot of county business, and day to day I'm working with members of different cities all the time, and we're having great conversations and great interactions. And I know some of the stuff is out of my wheelhouse and out of our wheelhouse. At the end of the day, we can't control that. All we can do is just do our job to serve our constituents and the members of the public.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the opportunity.